Hello, I'm Rachel and I welcome you all to Executive Corner Expert Talks. Today I'm with Tim Gray. Tim is the founder of Profit Systems. They provide supply chain software to manufacturers with highly complicated supply chain processes. Here at Kalkine, we bring you industry leaders, successful business owners, market and equity advocates, all under one roof to help you discover the insights of the stock market and help you understand how you can create multiple passive income streams. Hi Tim, welcome to Kalkine.
Thanks Rachel, thanks for having me.
Good to speak with you today. Now, firstly Tim, can you tell us a little bit more about Profit Systems and where the inspiration for the company came from?
Certainly. About 20 years ago I was doing rapid employment and improvement for my clients in the areas of supply chain, and we kept falling over the reality that most businesses, most manufacturing companies, IT departments were heading towards standardized systems and standard installs of SAP and Oracle and so on, and it made them very unresponsive to the changing needs of the business. And to deliver rapid improvement, we needed to have tools that could show us where opportunities existed in the supply chain. And initially we started building Excel spreadsheets and found they weren't robust enough, so we put my thinking cap on and started building a profit suite. And today that's our lead, and most of our work comes from deploying systems and consulting around integrating the supply chain planning tools into businesses' ERP systems and their businesses.
Now, in your experience, how do you believe that people can disaster-proof their businesses?
It's a very topical terminology you use. The last 18 months has shown more disruption in most supply chains around the world than many of us have seen for the rest of our careers. Some of the most important things to do, I like to use the term of synchronizing. We have to synchronize our demand signals, or our best understanding of what our customers might want, all the way through our supply planning, our capacity and resource planning, our transport planning, and our purchasing and procurement. And they sound fairly obvious things to do, but are uncommonly rare to see in most businesses. So really getting alignment through the business. And what's interesting too is there's been an enormous push to improve forecasting, because I think it's very obvious to everybody in the boardroom that what happened last year is unlikely to happen again this year, and certainly what was happening 2 years ago is no indicator at all to how this year's unfolding. And it's really interesting that we are seeing a lot of examples of businesses getting focused on forecasting, but then waiting for the forecasting to deliver results. And one of the most profound messages I have for my clients is don't wait. Absolutely set up and improve your forecasting. But having a process to forecast and having a forecast is one thing, then using it with all its errors and all its assumptions, just share that with the rest of the business. Having one set of numbers is powerfully liberating for a business, and is often missed. And that really helps businesses start future-proofing. Having a forecast, not enough, but having sharing that, and particularly sharing things like knowing where your forecast is poor and sharing that information as well is uncommon, but incredibly powerful once it's done.
Absolutely. And on that note, what do you believe, in your opinion, could be the reason for failing to deliver optimum results, despite some businesses investing millions of dollars?
It's a great question. Many businesses invest heavily in their ERP systems, and it's very easy at the board level to presume that if we buy SAP, and I'm not beating up on SAP, but if we buy SAP or if we buy Oracle, it's set on the brochure that we can do all things. So surely we should do it all in our ERP system. But when it comes to planning, running your business, running your planning through your ERP system is a little bit like driving a car, looking in the rear vision mirror. The reason I say that is your ERP systems are perfect at telling you when an order was received, when the stock was picked, when the product was manufactured, when it was dispatched from the warehouse, when the quality checks were done, and when the invoice was paid. And these are all essential, and they're absolutely essential parts of the business. But the commonality with that is that they've all happened. And so there's no longer any doubt about those particular actions. And ERPs are necessary for telling us what's happened and tracking our immediate execution, but they're not sufficient when it comes to planning. When we plan, we need to be able to see forward. Using the car analogy, we've got to be able to look forward through the windscreen, see what's coming, see vehicles that are getting in a lane or potholes and so on. So for me, when I'm planning, I don't just want the rear vision mirror. I want all the windscreen. I want a heads-up display. I want the Google Navigator. I want to have the whole gambit of forward detection systems that can tell me what's going on ahead, so I can navigate before I get into trouble. And you know, a lot of people often say to us when they're early on the journey of working with us that the ERP systems, surely they must be sufficient. You know, they said on the brochure they could do this. The best indicator you have that they're falling short is that almost everybody that has these systems will end up planning in Excel. And Excel is a great prototyping tool, but they're there and it's available to everybody in the business, but they're not robust, they're not sufficient, they're not scalable. So the reality is we need to have businesses, when we're planning for business, we need to be able to see things like what happens if the FX changes, what happens if my ship misses a delay or container price goes up another 50%. I hope that doesn't happen, but we're seeing crazy responses around the world at the moment. And once we have various scenarios, we need to be able to run them to ground and see what are the impacts on our resources, on our share prices, on our raw material procurement, on our footprint, on our crew working hours and conditions, and so on. And once we've run those to ground, we've worked through the various scenarios, then we can choose as a management team which of those we're going to execute to, and then we push that back into the ERP system. But ERP systems are not designed for doing that kind of what-if scenario. They're designed to track what's happened. And they advertise having other features, but they're all kind of constrained by this need to be able to report and record on what's actually happened.
And what is the most crucial aspect to be taken care of while working on supply chain management so that it does turn out to be a game changer for businesses?
Yeah, we've seen really good evidence, particularly over the disruption of the last 18 months, of businesses absolutely going gangbusters and still being able to navigate the many disruptions that they've had. And the key elements run to that point I made earlier about synchronization. They need to have a forecast and forecast fast, but they can't get stuck at that forecasting level waiting for the forecast to solve all the answers. They then need to run that forecast into integrated business planning or sales and operations planning processes, so they can see what resources they need where, what crew they need where, how much and which customers they're going to satisfy, and if they're constrained, you know, who are they going to let down, and make these tactical decisions with knowledge and foresight, and then execute that and keep tracking that. The key here in such a time of disruption is not to have one plan and just go blindly to that. It's to frequently reassess that. And a little bit like in a yacht race where you tack, into the wind, it doesn't matter that you're not right on course. It matters that everyone's pulling in the same direction. And as long as your business is synchronized and you regularly review these assumptions and the plans, you'll do very, very well. And that's the key where we're seeing our business and our clients and customers that are really excelling have really embraced that synchronization, make sure their organization is nimble and agile, as opposed to those businesses that are struggling or just focusing on forecasting or still in the chaos land of leaving every silo to work on their own.
It's definitely about having a different set of eyes on things, isn't it? So Tim, in your experience, what's the key to shifting decision making from a business being reactive to them being agile and opportunistic? Yeah,
it's interesting. To me, that's really gets to the heart of why anybody would invest or should be investing in business software. In my mind, you want to be making faster, more informed decisions. If your organisation isn't able to do that, then I question why would you spend money on any system. And I'll put that in the context of if where you're planning, if you can't see what my customers might need tomorrow or outside of the order horizon, I'm left with no choice, but we call it hopium. I'm left with no choice but looking at last year and trying to apply some instinct about what materials I might purchase or what materials I might need to make, and where I might put in my supply network and hope that it's somewhere near where a customer finally consumes it. If I have a forecast and a supply plan and I can see what the consequences of our expected requirements are, we're now planning to serve. And so we've got a clearer picture and we can make decisions around which customers to serve if we don't have enough. How am I going to do a fair share allocation? But the highest level of decision making comes if we can show the cost to serve while we're planning, so that everyone in the supply chain can see, well, when we serve this customer, it costs $1.50 a pallet to move, but when we're serving this customer, it's costing $5 a pallet. What's different? And it actually elevates the decision making process and starts driving this innovation, that we stop just thinking about supply and we start thinking about supply at the best possible cost. And that's an enormous transition from the poor people that were working in the hopium phase, where they're just relying on their instinct and what's happened in the past to guess what's happening in the future. We're now talking about having plans and having the right information to make the best decisions at the time. In my opinion, organisations should be demanding that every decision point in their supply chain should be supported by having the cost and consequences of each decision choice that they've got, so they can make, if we're going to try and source material from Thailand because Singapore is not available, or South Africa mills have gone offline, or whatever the contrast is, we need to see what those cost, what the shipping lanes mean, how much extra WIP we're going to carry. Are they approved suppliers, and if not, how long will it take? All this information must be readily available so we can make informed decisions. What happens in the chaos realm is that we're responding with just thumb in the air and trying to anticipate with instinct rather than with information, and it slows the whole process down, and we end up not working synchronization.
Well, it's definitely been a disruptive few years for many businesses. It's great to know that there are companies like Profit Systems out there. Thanks so much for your time today, Tim.
My pleasure. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you. And with that, I will sign off for today, but watch this space for more. Till then, stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.